Dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to speak with you, and I thank the Global Compact for organizing this Caring for Climate event and our colleagues at UNEP for their ongoing support and partnership. I also thank the climate champions for their ongoing leadership and dedication to keeping the climate agenda moving ahead. We're in the last days, in the last month of a year like no other, one that has been difficult and devastating for many throughout the world. Soon we will mark the end of the year, but not the end of our challenges. COVID-19 consumed the world's attention this year, but the pandemic did not put our existential climate crisis on hold. Despite lockdowns that temporarily reduced emissions and pollution, carbon dioxide levels are still at record highs and rising. In 2019, carbon dioxide levels reached 148% of pre-industrial levels. In 2020, the upward trend has continued despite the pandemic. In 2021, vulnerable people will still be vulnerable. Weather events will continue to get worse due to climate change, and we will still see the string linking climate change to many of the world's most significant issues being pulled even tighter. We will also enter 2021 with something else, a new sense of optimism, hope, and momentum. I believe we can agree that the winds of change are shifting in a more positive direction than when this year began. The European Union has committed to become first climate neutral continent by 2050, and Japan, the Republic of Korea, and more than 110 countries have committed to carbon neutrality by 2050. China has committed to get there before 2060. The Secretary General noted recently that this could mean that by next year, countries representing more than 65% of global carbon dioxide emissions and more than 70% of the world economy will have made ambitious commitments to carbon neutrality. It's a big could, but also an exciting possibility. A few months ago, it would have seemed a difficult prospect. It shows how quickly things can change and why maintaining a steady and consistent focus on achieving our agenda is so important. Those of you in this room, the national leaders, the business leaders, the policy analysts, and more, each of you has worked hard to get us this far, in these most difficult of circumstances, and I thank you for your efforts. We will need you in 2021, all of you, like never before. Only by having everyone on board can we make the deep transformations needed to put us on a path for 1.5 degrees resilient future. To get there, business, cities, regions, investors, and civil society need to adopt net zero and resilience goals based on the latest science. All ministries and aspects of national planning need to embed ambitious climate and sustainable development goals across national planning. All stakeholders and citizens need to be empowered and feel part of the solution. And while we need long-term goals, we also need short-term results aligned with these ambitious visions. We know that science calls for urgent progress, so we also need to provide evidence that we are delivering concrete outcomes on our commitments. We also need to ensure that any lessons, innovations, and solutions are shared with the global community in order to help developing countries and the most vulnerable. That's why this dialogue, your leadership, the work of the high-level champions, the Marrakesh Partnership, the Race to Zero, and the Ambition Summit is all so critical. We need all these parts working together in a unity of purpose. This must be accompanied by the fulfillment of commitments by nations under the Paris Agreement, the tabling of robust NDCs in 2020, a robust multilateral process, increased climate ambition by non-state actors, and significantly more climate ambition by all. To do all of this, and especially to achieve success at COP26, we need more than technical discussions. We need political decisions. Those can only be achieved through multilateralism, trust, and leadership. There are many areas where this need is evident, but perhaps none more so than finance. It can either be the key enabler for solutions, or it can kill momentum. Particularly, there is a need for nations to mobilize the $100 billion annually that was committed under the Paris Agreement. We see the trillions being spent on post-pandemic recovery and realize that the $100 billion is but a fraction of this. In other words, this must be mobilized in order to establish trust. We cannot build a common trust that future commitments will be met unless we first meet past ones. Nobody said any of this would be easy, but it's necessary. We all know COP26 must be a success, and that a significant amount of work remains to complete negotiations. However, we must remember that in order for COP26 and future conferences to be a success, we must show that systemic transformation is not only needed, but irreversible, and that there is the leadership, trust, and willingness at all levels to stay the course. Dear colleagues, the next 12 months are going to be some of the most crucial months this process has ever experienced, and it will require unprecedented levels of cooperation and an embrace of multilateralism. But I'm convinced, based on what I have seen from all of you, that we can build on this new momentum. The Climate Ambition Summit is our next chance to indicate progress, which will propel us into the new year with a new spirit, with COP26 firmly within our sights. All of this is entirely within our grasp. I look forward to working with you to achieve it. Thank you.